In today's video, I'm going to be explaining to you how to use luck maxing so that you can get rich in 2026 and achieve your business aspirations. Now, the first things first, what does it actually mean to max out your luck? Well, it's basically a process of positioning yourself in a way that bends the universe, bends the reality in your favor so that you can achieve your goals faster, more efficiently, in a more optimized manner. So, what is the actual definition of luck? Well, luck is basically just the universe's willingness to align people, events, circumstances, and timing in your favor. So, it's basically the universe's ability and willingness to put out people, events, circumstances, experiences at the right time, at the right place, so that you can achieve your goals faster. And regardless of what people say online, luck is a very important factor in achieving your goals, especially in business. You have to go through many experiences, brutal amounts of time and consistency, so that luck comes into your life and grants you a perfect timing, perfect event that gives you that breakthrough that you've been yearning for so long. So the next thing, we're going to cover the people that label themselves as lucky or unlucky. So on the left side, we have person A, and he says that he's unlucky. Now, most of you people don't realize how much of an importance these labels put on yourself. When you put a label on yourself, it's basically you giving the power to that word, to that semantic. And it can absolutely influence your actions and influence the outcomes of certain desires and certain experiences. So let me give you a basic example. This person tells himself that he's unlucky constantly, but he has this dream of his to make 100K a month with his online business. He wants to get there. But during that process, he's constantly telling himself that he's unlucky. This is the thoughts that are occupying his mind. So for example, what might happen is this person will start a business. Then he will encounter failure. His business will stagnate, it will die, and he will simply just tell himself, oh, I'm just unlucky. Now, what he doesn't realize is that that word is going to play a much bigger role in the actions that are going to proceed afterwards or come afterwards. So when you label yourself as unlucky, this is what's going to happen. Unlucky. You will take less action because you just simply believe that however much action that you take, you're still going to be unlucky. You're still not going to be granted that breakthrough that you've been wanting for so long. You will have more resistance towards risk taking, so less risk taking, which is crucial for business success, so less risks. What might I add? Wait. And you will certainly be in a position where you give up easily. So you give up easily. And in business, it is absolutely crucial that you alchemize these adversities and setbacks and failures into something positive, because if you don't, you'll poison your mind. Therefore, you will give up easier so that your goals essentially go into vain. You will never achieve them. And one thing that I would mention is that there are no winners and losers in business. The absolute winners in business are just the people that didn't give up. You can only lose in business if you lose to yourself, if you decide to give up. That is when you absolutely guarantee failure. But until then, you can make it out. If you simply keep putting in the work, self-analyze, get feedback upon your actions, fix your mistakes, learn from your mistakes, I am certain that you're gonna succeed. So the only losers in business are the people that give up. And if you just put this simple label onto yourself that you're unlucky because of one failure and because people tell you that luck is super important, which it is, but you haven't framed it correctly in your mind. Therefore, when you tell yourself you're unlucky, this is what's going to happen. You're going to take less action, more resistance, less risk taking, you're going to give up easier, and probably plethora of other negative downsides to you calling yourself unlucky. Now, let me give you an example of a person that is certain that they are lucky. Like, you probably know these people that constantly tell themselves they're so lucky, like they achieve everything and they just get granted all these amazing opportunities and events, and they get the job promotions and they get all these nice things. When this person tells himself he's lucky, he's gonna be taking more action, more risks, less fear, less resistance. And more opportunities overall. Because when you deem yourself as a lucky person, you're not going to be scared to go out of your way to go to these maybe novel activities that you might not do if you didn't call yourself lucky. Like these people, and I know these people, they always take more action. They are not fearful, they are not anxious, they are not doubtful, because they're just certain in their mind that whatever they do, they will get the best possible outcome out of that. And that is a really good mindset model to have. So that is just a simple example, but this goes way, way deeper into how your subconscious is programmed and how much influence it has over your energy and over the general outcomes of your life. So what lucky people are really good at is that they are really good at being aware and noticing opportunities. This is what they do. They notice, they're aware. As I said, if you call yourself lucky, if you truly believe that, you will simply notice and be more aware of the opportunities presented at hand. And one thing that I forgot to mention is that lucky people act on their intuition. Lucky people are certain that there is a gut feeling inside of their body that tells them what they should do. And you can see this, you can notice this pattern in all successful people. I have noticed it in myself, that when I act on my intuition, when I just get that voice that I should do something and I actually do it swiftly, I get a very positive outcome, and I usually just achieve my small or big goals simply because I acted on my intuition. And lucky people are really good at doing that. They are really good at being aware and noticing of their intuition, of their gut feeling, and of the opportunities presented at hand. And of course, when you are aware to this level, to this extent, of course you're going to achieve more. Like, that is logical. And this is something that is unheard of for people that call themselves unlucky. Like, why would a person that is believing that he's unlucky, why would he act on his gut feeling? Like, when you believe these certain semantics about yourself and you have these limiting beliefs, it restricts so much of your potential. It's absolutely crazy. Like, just calling yourself this one word can influence so much of your day-to-day life. It might even influence how you live the rest of your lives if you're not aware of this. So what is also super important for you to actually be lucky, and what is a really interesting pattern in lucky people, is that they are aligned. They are aligned to God. They are aligned to the divine. And this also ties back to the intuition part. If you're aligned on a spiritual level with God, with the divine, of course you're going to be able to act on your intuition because you believe that is something that God is telling you to do. And if God is telling you to do that, of course it's going to be something positive. So alignment is also a crucial part of this. You can't be a sinner, you can't be a disbeliever that just doesn't give a fuck about the spiritual plane of your existence and just wander around in life. I'm not saying that you can be successful by doing that, But if you truly want to maximize your luck, this is a crucial step. Now this ties back to the alignment part. When you believe you're supported by a higher force, this is what's going to happen. As I said, you're going to have no fear or anxiety. This is super common in lucky people, in the people that call themselves lucky. They have no fear or anxiety because, as I said, they're aligned to the God, they're aligned to the divine. And when you're aligned, you believe you're supported by a higher force. Therefore, you have no fear or anxiety because you know God is on your side. They're prone to more risk taking. They have less hesitation, as I said. And they have more persistence. This is a crucial thing I forgot to mention back there. They have more persistence. Because lucky people also fail. Like, I fail, you fail, other successful people fail. But there's a really big difference in how losers that fail and winners that fail, there's a big difference in how they respond to those setbacks and those failures. So lucky people have more persistence because they just know that, okay, I failed. They probably don't even believe that is a failure in their mind. Lucky people and people that are successful generally switch the way they formulate certain experiences in their life. So I, for example, would never frame something as a failure. Like, I don't believe I failed ever. And that is a certainty in my mind. And this is common in successful people. They frame experiences differently, and how you frame things is how they're going to be conceived in your mind. And how they're conceived in your mind, it's going to reflect in the outer, in the external. So they have more persistence. Now, a crucial aspect of luck is also experience. Because if you have a person that is convinced that they're lucky, but they just sit in their house all day and don't do anything, like, what kind of luck does he have? He doesn't have any luck because he's not in the positions, in the situations at the right time to get granted luck. So experience is also a big part of this. You can't be a guy that just says, oh, I'm so lucky, and just scratch lottery tickets all day. Like, it doesn't work like that. You need to be able to gather experience. You need to be able to go out of your way to experience certain things. Now, this might be in your business, going to a meeting with somebody, doing outreach, cold calling. Like, these are experiences that build up consistently and compound over time so that you get a much higher return after a certain time has passed. So a person cold calling every day 100 people, after like a year, that's a lot of cold calls, and he is certain to achieve the success that he wanted because he's putting in so much action, gathering so much experience that the universe and God has no option but to grant him what he wants if he's aligned in a correct manner. So how do you actually luck max? Now, I've been talking about certain points throughout this video. I'm going to explaining certain attributes of a lucky person, but how do you actually do it in a few simple steps? The first thing, now this is in no order, but this is all something that you should remember and implement as soon as possible. So the first thing that you must do is increase action and experience. You have to be the person that is constantly taking some kind of small, big, or medium-sized action towards achieving your goal constantly. The more action that you take, the more experiences that you gather, it compounds over time, as I said, and you get a much higher return after like a year, after like a month, 2 months, 3 months, etc. So increasing your action experience also increases the chances of you getting extremely lucky and experiencing that breakthrough that you've been wanting. That's the first thing. Second thing is ascending spiritually and acting on intuition. So you cannot be, so this is how reality functions. You have the inner and you have the outer. The inner is your inner self, your spiritual self, your mental self. This is your inner. The outer is just the physical. It's just the physical world. Now you have to ascend spiritually. You have to align yourself spiritually and mentally to the goals that you want to achieve. So, in terms of the spiritual part, you need to get closer with God. So, spiritual. Get close to God. When you get honestly close to God, you will have this interesting energy to yourself where you're simply not fearful of everyday actions and experiences, because you know there's a higher force looking out for you and being there by your side. So get close to God and be honest. Honesty is an interesting language of the spiritual world. You have to be honest about the desires that you want to experience. You have to be honest about the impact that you want to create with your goals. You have to be honest with the feelings that you want to achieve, and you have to be honest with the reason as to why you want to achieve your goals. Because if you're not honest, how do you expect God to just grant you something if you're not honest about why you want it and how you want it to happen? So you have to be really honest. You can't be a liar. You can lie to yourself, but you cannot lie to the spiritual. You cannot lie to the universe. God and the universe will also always know the truth. So if you lie to yourself, you're just hindering your own progress. So aligning and ascending spiritually is getting closer to God and being honest. Then you have the mental plane. I forgot to mention this on the bullet point here. So you have to also ascend mentally. Now I have numerous videos talking about the mental plane and how to align yourself on the mental plane so that you can achieve your goals. But to put it simply, your mental plane must be resonant with the goals. And the easiest way to do that is to just ask yourself. Now this is a really, really simplified explanation, but ask yourself, what does the mental model, okay, you cannot see this. What does, let's do it like this. What does mental model of a person having X goal? Now this for you might be making 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K a month. What does the mental model of a person having and achieving X goal look like? Now you have tons of different aspects to this. You have certain attributes that are assigned to the mental plane. So the mental plane is just your mind, your mindset. You have beliefs, what you believe about the world. You have conviction, what you're convinced to be the truth about the world. You have perception. This is the way you see and observe the reality you're living in. You have identity. This is just who you are. And you have, beliefs, conviction, perception, identity. There's also another attribute, but I just forgot what it is. You can look at my older videos. I talked about the alignment on the 3 planes of existence, but this is the mental plane. So you have to align yourself to these attributes. Your beliefs, your conviction, your perception, your identity must be the same as the person that has already achieved your goal. So ask yourself, the person making 10K a month, what would they believe? Then you inject their beliefs into your own mind. What would they be convinced about the world? Inject those in your mind. What would their perception of the world look like? Inject those in your mind. And what would their identity be? Now, this is, of course, unique to everyone. Like, you cannot have the same true identity to everybody else, but you can take a structure. So your identity might be a person that, I don't know, enjoys basketball, which is your unique part of yourself, but you still have other aspects that you change about your identity that will help you in achieving your goals. So you might be loving basketball, but your new identity tells you that you hate going and watching sports. You like playing basketball, but you don't want to watch it because you're wasting time, etc. So you have all these different aspects. So that is what you need to do. And when you align yourself on the spiritual and mental plane, this is what's going to happen. Spiritual, this is ascended, and the mental, this is ascended, and also the physical. You have the physical, of course, you cannot forget about it. You have to be putting in the work so that you can achieve your goals. When all these three are aligned and they are in perfect resonance with the goals you want to achieve and with the person that you need to become to achieve those goals, you will be granted intuition. Now, intuition, what does intuition actually mean? Intuition is just inner tuition. Inner, regarding your spiritual and mental, and tuition, which means guidance, which means teaching, which means mentoring. So you have inner tuition. This is the gut feeling, this is the voice inside of your mind that tells you to do X thing. It's a very specific kind of voice. So you will be, for example, I had numerous situations where I would be just sitting at my apartment, sitting at my home, working or doing anything else, and I just get the thought that I should call a certain person, that I should do X thing. And when I go through and actually do it and listen to that voice, I get a very positive outcome. So one time I got the thought to text a certain person. I texted them, we connected because we weren't speaking in some time. We connected. He shared some value about the business that we're doing, and I made more money. Like, that is a very simple, small action that led to a greater compounding result. So small action, small action, small action. And then you have these big outcomes that come from a really small action. This is the domino effect. This is the compound effect of listening to your intuition. So you must be able to do that. But to be able to listen to your intuition, you need to be able to listen and notice it. You need to be able to be aware of it. Now, you cannot be aware of your intuition if your mind is in constant noise. If your mind is surrounded by noise, how can you hear a small voice telling you to do something? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So this goes way deeper and way more detailed, but a simple explanation would be like, this is your mind, and intuition is somewhere here. It's a small thing. And this is your great big mind. And this is all the noise. This is all the noise that outspeak your intuition. You can't even see it. You can't even hear it because your mind is filled with constant bullshit that you're consuming. So of course, if you're aligned on the three planes, this is not going to be an issue for you, but you have to be aware of it because sometimes it's going to happen. And if it does at a wrong time, you're not going to be able to hear your inner voice. So when you bombard your mind with constant consumption of very negative things, it fills up your thought processes, your perception, your beliefs, and you cannot hear your intuition. If you can't hear your intuition, you will not be able to luck max. You will not be able to gather the experiences and be granted the luck from the divine to achieve your goals. So you have to clear out your mind. Have to clear out your mind like this so that you can hear your intuition. Have your mind occupied like this. This is your thinking about your business. This is you thinking about your family. This is you thinking about some other bullshit. But you can still, there's a big part here where you can still hear your intuition. This is what your mind should look like. So occupy your mind with valuable and reputable information conducive to helping you achieve your goals, but also don't fill it up too much with the negatives and with the bullshit, so that you can still hear what your inner voice is telling you. So that is the second point. Third point is being able to alchemize adversity. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, lucky people and in general successful people are really good at alchemizing, and the alchemy process is just a magical process of transmuting, transformation, creation of one thing into something else. So being able to alchemize adversity is just you being able to reform the experiences that you just encountered into something that is going to help you achieve your goals. So let's say this is something that happened to me. So last year I made a beginner's mistake with my business, and I got into a really big headache with my bank, and I had all these issues, had all this stress. And this was I don't know, maybe a month, 2 month long period of just extreme stress because of the mistake that I made, because I just wasn't educated enough. So this is a very stressful period for me. And it was kind of an adversity. It was definitely a setback. It definitely hindered my progress. And I wasn't really aware of it, wasn't really being able to alchemize it fully at that time, because I simply wasn't educated on the topics that I'm talking about today. But that adversity taught me so much, and it taught me a lot greater and more positive things than if I didn't experience it. If I didn't experience it then, and I experienced it now, it would have a much more negative impact on my life, certainly. So you have to be able to alchemize these adversities, and how you do that is like this. Let's say you go and lose 10K. You bet on a crypto coin and you lost 10K. Now that is a very dumb thing to do, but let's say it happened to you. One person would see that as a complete failure. They will get depressed. They will label themselves, they will tell themselves, I am so unlucky, I'm such a dumbass, which they probably are. So they're gonna label themselves. They're maybe gonna kill themselves, they're maybe gonna give up on crypto and business. So a failure like this is of course something that is traumatic to most people. But if you frame it as a failure, it's going to have this domino effect. So if you frame it as a failure, you now think of that as a negative experience, and negative experiences breed emotional trauma. So emotional trauma is you getting depressed, you getting anxious. And when you're experiencing emotional trauma, you're not in a conscious state of mind. You're in an emotional state of mind where you're just feeling all these things, but you can't consciously think of and be aware of certain things. So you become a person that labels themselves. And this is the worst thing you can do if it's something negative. You start labeling yourself because you're not thinking straight. You label yourself as a, I don't know, depressed, anxious, failure, loser, dumbass. And when you do that, it also has a much more and greater outcome in terms of your actions. So you do extreme things such as giving up, I don't know, killing yourself. Like, these are all extremely traumatic and negative actions that just stemmed from you labeling an experience as a failure. Now, this is an extreme example. Of course, people go through failure all the time and they don't experience such an extreme outcome. But this is something that you can see in the crypto space. Like, people lose a lot of money and they end up killing themselves. Now, another person would label this as a learning experiences. Learning XP. EXP. Now, of course, losing 10K on a crypto coin is not, I don't know how much of a learning lesson that is, but let's say it was ecom and you lost 10K because you trusted a retarded Chinese business partner and he fucked you over for 10K. that is an extremely good learning experience. Like, of course, you lost 10K, but now you learn how to read people. Now you learned how to detect bullshit. You learned what a scammy, shitty person is. So there's a lot of positive things stemming from such a negative, quote unquote, negative experience. And the alchemization process is simply you being aware of the positives in the negative experiences. And when you can focus on the positive, but then you lose 10K and you get all emotional for 5 minutes, and then you think straight and you become conscious, just think to yourself, okay, I lost 10K, but at least I didn't lose 20K. And now I learned what a scammy person looks like. I learned to never do business with the Chinese. I learned how to detect lies. I learned all these good things, which are now going to help me to find a better business partner. I'm going to make way more than 10K with a good business partner than right now, than if I didn't get scammed. So this is a completely different reality simply because of a label, simply because one person learned how to alchemize experiences into something positive. Any person that is unable to do that, that is such a great difference. So this person that is able to alchemize, so this is a very smart guy, very aware guy. So he experiences, quote unquote, a failure. He denies that. He treats it as a learning experience. Then he actually learns, so he becomes better, smarter. When you become smarter, your self-worth rises. So you ascend your self-worth, which is something that can limit your potential or ascend it. Self-worth rises, you take more action. You take better action, so better decision making. And then you live a better life. And if you're able to stack these quote unquote failures, not in a way that you're a retard and you just go on and lose and lose and lose. Of course, you lose with a point. So you lose, you learn, you become smarter, you become better, self-worth rises, you take better action, better decision making, better life. And this is how it goes. This is the process of alchemization. And this is what you must do. If you're unable to do this, you will not be successful, because every successful person went through many, many setbacks, many, many adversities. And people that are unable to alchemize this will simply give up, because your mind is way more powerful than you think, and it can convince you of things that you truly don't want to believe, but it makes you think that that is the truth. And whatever you accept in your subconscious mind to be the truth, it will be reflected in the physical world. As I said, if you deem yourself to be a failure, you will take less action, more resistance, etc., etc., etc. So I explained everything. And the last point I want to make is that the universe doesn't rain the bags of good luck onto everybody. It only rains them on certain people, and those certain people are people that are aligned. When you're aligned, and when you do those 3 steps that I told you, when you're able to take action on your goals in a correct manner, you'll be the luckiest person ever. So that is the last point I wanted to make. Follow me on Instagram, like the video. Hope you enjoyed, hope you can apply this. That's pretty much it.